You're eating less. You're tracking your food. You're doing everything right. So why isn't the scale moving? Here's the part most people never figure out. Being in a calorie deficit doesn't automatically mean you're losing fat. Your body is smarter than your spreadsheet, and it's quietly working against you in ways you've probably never considered. This isn't a lecture about eating less. It's an explanation of why eating less sometimes stops working and what you can actually do about it. Let's start with the most frustrating one, metabolic adaptation. Your body has no idea you're trying to look good for summer. All it knows is that calories dropped, and that signals one thing: potential starvation. So it responds accordingly. Your basal metabolic rate, which accounts for 60 to 70% of all the calories you burn daily, can drop by 10 to 15% beyond what weight loss alone explains. That's not a rounding error. That's hundreds of calories your body quietly stops burning. On top of that, something called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, drops too. You fidget less, you move less, you sit more. Studies estimate this unconscious reduction costs you 200 to 400 calories a day. Your planned deficit essentially disappears without you doing anything different. That's not a willpower problem. That's biology running a defense mechanism. The severity of metabolic slowdown varies significantly between individuals based on genetics, dieting history, and how aggressively you've cut calories. Someone who has dieted repeatedly experiences faster and more dramatic adaptation than someone in their first deficit. Your body keeps a metabolic memory. Each time you restrict, it adapts more readily because it has previous experience with scarcity. This is why serial dieters often hit plateaus faster and harder than people attempting their first serious cut. Additionally, the rate at which your body senses the deficit matters. A gradual reduction produces less adaptive response than a sudden drop. This is also why crash diets trigger the most aggressive metabolic defense. Your body perceives an emergency and responds accordingly. But there's another layer most people completely miss: water retention. Your body can mask weeks of fat loss behind fluid, and you'd never know it. Research shows that a prolonged calorie deficit spikes cortisol levels. Elevated cortisol triggers water retention. The longer your deficit runs, the more cortisol rises, and the more water your body holds onto. You're losing fat the entire time, but the scale refuses to move because fluid is filling the gap. The Minnesota starvation experiment proved this decades ago. Men were steadily losing fat while their weight barely changed, because retained water offset every pound of fat burned. Then they ate more. Cortisol dropped, water flushed out, and suddenly it looked like they lost several pounds in days. That's the whoosh effect people talk about. It's real, and it happens to almost everyone dieting aggressively. And there's one more factor that makes this even more confusing, especially for women. Your body doesn't behave the same throughout the month. In certain phases of your cycle, your body naturally holds more water, your digestion slows down, and your weight can spike, even if you're doing everything right. So you step on the scale, see no progress, and assume nothing is working. But the reality is, you're measuring at the worst possible time. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Your calorie tracking is probably wrong, not because you're lying to yourself, but because accurate tracking is genuinely hard. Research consistently shows people underreport calorie intake, often without realizing it. A tablespoon of peanut butter eyeballed instead of weighed. Cooking oil that never made it into the log. A handful of nuts grabbed between meals. These don't feel like meals. They don't get tracked, but they absolutely count. One study found that underreporting by just 20% is common even among people who consider themselves careful trackers. Add in fitness tracker inaccuracies. Many overestimate calorie burn significantly, and your supposed deficit might not exist at all. Weigh your food, log everything, even the bites while cooking. Then there's the muscle problem. When you cut calories without resistance training, you don't just lose fat, you lose muscle too. And that matters enormously. Muscle is metabolically expensive tissue. The more you carry, the more calories your body burns at rest. Lose it, and your metabolism slows further. One study compared a very low-calorie group eating 500 calories a day against a moderate deficit group. Both lost similar amounts of weight, but the aggressive restriction group lost significantly more muscle mass. They shrank the engine while emptying the tank. That's why crash diets feel effective at first and then suddenly stop working entirely. You've burned through the muscle, keeping your metabolism elevated. The type of training matters too. Lifting heavy with progressive overload preserves muscle far better than cardio alone. even in a deficit. Your nervous system recognizes the demand and signals your body to keep the tissue around because it's still needed. Sleep is something most fat loss conversations skip over entirely. That's a mistake. Poor sleep disrupts leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that control hunger and satiety. When you're underslept, ghrelin rises and leptin drops. You get hungrier, you crave higher calorie foods, your resting metabolic rate decreases, and your energy for movement drops, cutting calories burned throughout the day. You can be perfectly disciplined with your food logging and still sabotage everything with 5 hours of sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours consistently. It's not optional. It's part of the deficit. Beyond the hormonal impact, sleep is when your body does critical recovery work and consolidates the adaptations from your training. Without adequate sleep, that training stimulus doesn't translate into muscle retention or strength maintenance. You're essentially throwing away the one tool designed to protect lean mass during restriction. Stress functions the same way. Chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated, and cortisol drives fat storage, particularly around your midsection. Cortisol receptors are concentrated there more than anywhere else in the body. So high stress plus a calorie deficit can produce a situation where you're technically burning fat while simultaneously storing more of it in the places you're most trying to lose it from. Lower stress, whether through sleep, walks, or less aggressive restriction, directly impacts where your body holds weight. Now here's something people don't expect to hear. Sometimes the scale isn't moving because you're actually succeeding. Body recomposition happens when you lose fat and build muscle simultaneously. Muscle is denser than fat, so the two can offset each other on the scale entirely. Your weight holds steady, but your body fat percentage drops. Your clothes fit differently. Your measurements shrink. You look different in the mirror. The scale just isn't the right tool for measuring this kind of progress. If you're training hard and eating enough protein, body recomposition is genuinely possible, and the scale will make you think nothing is happening while your body is quietly transforming. Medical conditions also matter and often go undiagnosed. Hypothyroidism slows calorie burning directly and causes water and salt retention, often producing 5 to 10 pounds of weight that won't shift regardless of deficit size. PCOS elevates insulin and androgen levels, creating insulin resistance and increasing fat storage. Certain medications, antidepressants, blood pressure drugs, others, affect fluid balance, appetite, and fat storage in ways that make deficits significantly harder to maintain. If you've been consistent for months and nothing is moving, a basic hormonal panel with your doctor isn't excessive. It's smart. The fix for most of this isn't eating less. It's eating smarter. Keep your deficit moderate, around 500 calories below maintenance. Weigh your food instead of estimating it. Add resistance training 2 to 3 times a week to protect muscle mass. Prioritize protein at every meal, at least 30 grams per sitting, since digesting and processing protein demands substantially more energy from your body than carbohydrates or fats require, and directly supports muscle retention during restriction. Take occasional refeed days where you eat at or above maintenance briefly, which lowers cortisol, flushes retained water, and resets leptin toward normal. Track sleep as seriously as calories, and measure progress with body measurements, photos, and how clothes fit, not just the number on a scale. The body hiding your fat loss isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do. Your job is to work with that biology instead of against it.